All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Question came in, which, whatever, it's a good question. Dealt with it before, but always good questions are, come up again. And that is, the question was, can a lack of emunah, lack in faith in God be the reason for some mental illness, right? I.e. depression, maybe anxiety, bipolarism, schizophrenia, I don't know, other types of mental disorder, right? So I'll say one misnomer and whatever, we'll see where this goes. And that is that a person, if they're interested in converting to Judaism, or being an OI, or they're a JIT, they're somewhere in between. Now, most people that I deal with come out of Christianity, right? It doesn't mean someone can't come out of some other religion or whatever, right? Or I've had some people that looking for religion, meaning to give over to their kids. They grew up with really anything. So, they looked into Judaism, but that's certainly wouldn't say that's the majority, by any stretch, a handful, right? Maybe a handful, right? But there's a big misnomer. And the misnomer is that people think I'm going to choose this lifestyle and that's going to take away all my problems. So I'd be fond of saying, probably going to add to a whole list of new problems. And the other problems that a person adds, does not mean that this newfound belief system, religiosity, whatever a person's going to call it, it's going to change everything, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that, because the question was, well, maybe if I don't have proper faith and proper belief in God, and we all have to work on that. I don't think there's any question. It's always what to be worked on, but is that going to solve someone who has mental issues? Some sort of mental illness. Again, it's not gonna make overriding generalizations over here, right? But we'll say, it depends. It depends on what the person has. It depends how serious it is. Depends what they've been through. I mean, there are a lot of factors involved, right? So again, depending on what it is, coming to an Orthodox view, of Judaism can certainly make a person think, what they've been through before is totally wrong, totally backwards. I mean, could have had a lot of negative effects. Person in quote unquote their previous life. Now, if someone, let's say has been through trauma, whatever the trauma is, if someone has been through trauma, is all of a sudden now, this new outlook on life, which we obviously believe is a true outlook, is that all of a sudden over time going to take away the trauma? Now, a simple answer is no. Why not? It can give a person a different perspective, change the way they think, see the bigger picture. But seeing the bigger picture is not therapy, right? Doesn't get to the root of it. The person may need serious therapy, may need to be on medication, right? Certain things that even best therapy in the world not going to make the breakthroughs that need to be made unless there's medication. Again, depends on what it is, right? I know a great rabbi is also has to be a trained psychologist, and he'll do whatever it takes not to put someone on medication, but someone needs to be on medication. Okay, right? So in other words, it depends what it is. There are people that have chemical imbalances. Now, all the Torah and all the learning in the world cannot change a chemical imbalance. It can make you deal with certain that we deal with certain things, maybe certain side effects, whatever it is. But the chemical balance is still there. So that medication, medication and therapy, right? You need both over here. If it's something, where, let's say depression, most people today, unfortunately, on Prozac, right? It's a good reason. Live in a totally messed up world, right? So if it's not clinical depression, right? Let's say, but whatever, person's depressed for any number of reasons. Now, part of me would say, if a person's really steeped in Torah, they have the proper outlook, they see the bigger picture. If it's mild, again, I'm not, an expert on this. You can take it with a grain of salt over here. If it's something that's mild, still may need, antidepressants, just to, get the mood swings on an equilibrium. But a different outlook, in a proper outlook in the bigger scheme of things, does that mean a person going to stop antidepressants? Not necessarily. I think it can mitigate it in many ways. But it's not something 100% that a person can will. What does that mean? In other words, a person, can learn a lot of ethics. They can work on themselves, work on what they see, change the way they think, change their mentality. Now, by doing all that, does that take away the depression? Can't say. My guess would be, depends how severe it is. But even with that, that's good, and that's certainly a good start. But a person still may need to be on medication. Right? And then we're not saying that's a, it's just a quick option. I'll just take medication, that'll be fine. It takes time, to have an effect. But a person has to start thinking and living a different way. But, all the Torah in the world, let's not, make any mistakes. All the Torah in the world and the outlook and all that, if a person has a hormone imbalance, however much it is, you can't will that. You can't change that. You can mitigate it. It can get less. Person's on proper medication. And that can help a person heal. And then, maybe a lot of Torah can help in different ways. Would a person still need therapy? Probably. It's certainly not going to hurt as long as it's not anti-Torah, right? Which is a whole nother discussion, right? Because you can have, psychologists, psychiatrists that, will tell a person, come on, your lifestyle is causing this fanatical lifestyle, because they're very much anti-religion. And they'll look at this as like, working on your speech, come on, working on what you see. They're only going to think this is archaic. And you're putting yourself in a situation to fail. Totally archaic over here. So that is going to be a problem. A person cannot go, to such a person to try and get help, because they're going to try and undermine what you do. Right? At least when it comes to, being an Orthodox Jew. Trying to tell you, cut down on things, etc., because they don't believe in it. They believe it's part of the cause. It's kind of ironic in certain ways, where a person wants to live a more moral life, better life, let's say, and everything that means. And the person that's trying to help is going to say, "What are you doing that for? It's medieval. It's archaic. It's backwards. Of course, you're having issues with this, that, and the other thing. It's all because of that." Now, could a person be OCD? They could be. Person's fanatical, did they wash their hands the right way? People can be OCD because, they really want to have a lot of fear of heaven. They don't want to transgress. They know the repercussions. So they go well beyond, drive themselves nuts, drive other people around them nuts. I did fulfill my obligation. I didn't. I could have done it better. This. Okay, we got to do things to the best of our ability. True. Can't drive ourselves crazy, but again, there are disorders for this. People that are super stringent on things, which I'm not saying that they shouldn't be, but it goes beyond that, well beyond that. So that also needs therapy. Yeah, they want to do the right thing. They want to go in the right path, and all this, but they go to the nth degree. And when you go to the nth degree, guess what? It's going to have a negative effect, totally negative effect. So a person has to be careful also how much to push themselves. Let's say, someone, you have a, whatever child learning yeshiva, 15, 16, 17, it's a lot of pressure, tremendous amount of pressure. Kids could crack from it. Some like it more, some less, whatever. What can a person do? They want to be the best. They want to be at the top, so they're going to sleep less, they're going to eat less, they're going to, work on this, work on that. And that's the work of Moreno V'Rabbeinu, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. Their heart is in the right place. No question, their heart's in the right place. But the evil inclination convinces them to go further and to go way further. They're going to get less sleep, they won't be able to function. And they won't be able to function. And they'll have a breakdown. Right? Essentially, they'll crack because there's just too much pressure. Again, there are people that can thrive in this pressure. There are people, even if there is pressure and they're good at it, they need to, take a step back every so often. Chill a little bit. Because if not, they'll run themselves into the ground. So a person has to be careful of that also. So in any of these things, a person cannot do things in excess. When a person jumps in, says, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, whatever, they can burn out, very easily burn out. A person says, I want to be all in. When I do things, I'm all in. True. May very well be true. But in this case, you can't bite off more than you can chew. For a JIT, a Jew in training, right, there are things you can't do. And you shouldn't do everything at once. You won't be able to. It's too much information. It's overload. Now, is that a lack in emunah? It's not a lack in emunah. Person has to understand what the reality is. Right? And the reality is that you got to be careful. 100% you have to be careful over here. Because the evil inclination will say, yeah, get less sleep, eat less, you got to concentrate, on this and on that, and, all kinds of other things, good. But a person's going to burn out. Right? So secular people, along with the evil inclination, is going to, ride this person. Say, come on, you got to relax. You got to take a break. You can't just have your mind in that. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Person, let's say, in a normal schedule, right, for a yeshiva student, start at, praying in the morning, let's say 7:30, they eat breakfast at 8:30, etc. They start 9 o'clock, have a class, let's say at 11, 11:30, 12, eat lunch, have a break for a couple hours, go back to learning. Some people learn during the break, some people not, some people rest, this, whatever it is, right? Then you have, a second learning session, let's say 3 o'clock, goes to 6, 6:30, 7, then they eat dinner, or they pray the afternoon service, they eat dinner, then they have the evening service, and they learn at night, right? So when they're older, 17, 18, they learn at night, for a number of hours, 10:30, 11, they're done. Maybe later, some people stay up later, whatever it is. It's an intense schedule. 100%, it's an intense schedule. Now, for, in the mainstream, you're not going to say, wow, this is so intense, I need 1 day off a week. That's not going to happen. That's certainly not going to happen. Get a person to take breaks, this, okay, to a certain extent. But it's an intense schedule. Now, someone's going to say, well, that schedule's not for everybody. Depends. I have to learn this, you have to learn how to learn, right? So people are more modern, they have to learn secular things as well, right? They're not going to learn at night. The schedule's going to be different. In yeshivas after probably 7th grade, certainly here in Israel, most mainstream places, there are no secular things. Not going to learn English, not going to learn math. Person wants to go into that later, okay? So, they'll have to get that later, right? But that's not going to be the focus. It's not even going to be partial focus over here. It's intense, 100%. It's intense. Okay, by girls, it's less intense in certain ways. But also, people complain. They got tons of homework. They're busy studying for tests all the time. Well, it's a good reason for that. Because even though they don't have to learn necessarily the same things, but keeping them busy keeps them off the streets. So there is a method to the madness. There is a method to the madness. Some people have been complaining for years. It's just too intense for girls. They, too many tests and too many, it's too competitive. And, it's true. Girls also have to be inspired. It can't be just, well, can't do this, can't do that, can't do the other thing. They have to see the beauty. You have to see the beauty of Torah, right? So one of the knocks against outdoor Orthodox schools is exactly that. They're bringing a guest speaker. And the guest speaker is all doom and gloom. It's all doom and gloom, no inspiration. Now, some girls are going to say, that's great. They thrive on that. Okay. But there are other girls who want to be inspired. They don't just want to hear the doom and gloom. They don't want to hear every time, what a smartphone does. And how you're not allowed to be alone with the smartphone and all kinds of things. They've heard that already once, twice, 3 times, 5 times. Right? They're getting hammered. It's not inspiration. So there are schools geared, after high school. For girls who want to learn, more about emunah, faith in God and the beauty of Torah. Not just, this is forbidden, you're going to fry now forever. That's not so inspiring. So why can't they get that right in high schools? Well, that's a very good question. Not saying I have a good answer. Right? But they want to keep everyone on the strict and narrow path. They don't want people to go a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. They want everyone, to be on the same path. So some people have struggles in different things. Some people just go through the system and, the system's okay for them. Education is not an easy thing. 100% not an easy thing. People have to be inspired. They have to listen to people who inspire, not just doom and gloom. There's a lot of doom and gloom out there. Plenty of doom and gloom. And people like that, okay? Doom and gloom does not always inspire. You have to know, person, that, everything starts by fear of heaven. You need fear of heaven. That's the base. Fear of heaven does not necessarily lead to love of God. Love of God will lead to fear of heaven. Right? Because when we say every day, we say you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. First paragraph of the Shema. Right? We say the word v'ahavta. Right? The word v'ahavta means to love. What's the root? Aleph hey beis. Or some say hey beis. The word hey beis, hav, in Aramaic means to give. Right? Sometimes, the Talmud will say hav, it's what a dog says, right? Dog barks, right? Hav, right? Woof, sounds similar, I guess. Whatever it is, right? But hav means to give. In general means to give. So what does it mean to love God? You have to give. You have to give of yourself, right? But what's the first thing you do when you say the Shema? You say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You got to take on the yoke of heaven. That's pretty darn serious. Right? That's why we cover our eyes when we say it, to have more intention. And then you say Echad. Why Echad? Ayin Dalet. Right? 8. Show witness. You're a witness over here. That's pretty darn intense. So first I have to take on the yoke of heaven. Then I say, you have to ask Hashem Elokecho. You're going to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. You're going to pass it on to your kids. You're going to write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. That's the yoke of mitzvahs. So I take on the yoke of heaven. I take on the yoke of mitzvahs, and then it's the fun part. What's the second paragraph? Right? If I listen to the Lord your God, what he says, and I keep his commandments, everything's good. What am I going to have? What am I going to have? We're going to have, rain. Going to have food. God's going to take care of my needs. And in the middle of that paragraph says, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, it's going to be famine. You're going to suffer. Right? Etc. So that's reward and punishment. If anyone's going to ask you, how do you know it's right and wrong in the Torah? Second paragraph of the Shema we say every day. Right? Twice a day. Second paragraph. Now, that being the case, that's pretty intense. I need fear of heaven. I need to know God runs the world. So for a non-Jew, right, for a Noahide, they should say Shema Yisrael every day. So they have to say the first and second paragraphs? No. Third paragraph? No. But it's good to acknowledge it's one God. So that's pretty intense, but I have to give. I have to work hard. I have to understand the bigger picture. Now, what do we always talk about? Probably ad nauseum. Because even if I understand the bigger picture, how can I sing and dance when I'm obligated to say every day, Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha? I got an obligation to serve God with great joy. So I should be doing the moonwalk, which I don't know how to do, or whistle Dixie. But how can you do that? And this is going to get to what we started with, when I'm getting beaten down in life. Right? So I'll speak about myself. If I would have read Derech Hashem when I was younger, much younger, would have changed my life. Would have taken away so many things. So many things. Doesn't mean it wasn't painful. Certain things weren't painful, but it helps you understand. It helps you understand what's going on. I just heard someone talking today. Interesting thing. A person, God forbid, has a mentally challenged child. And that child dies, let's say within 30 days, within a month, within a year, something like that. And the child suffers. And we feel bad. Child suffering, going through difficulty, and going through that. Right? But we also have to understand the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is that child's an unbelievable soul. It's such a big soul. It had to come back to this world and be in a messed up body. Is it the fault of the parents? No. They have the merit to have such a child. Now, not everyone looks at it that way. So you need a lot of strength in yourself and to work on emunah to get through this. I'm not saying you may not need psychological help also in therapy. But I would say if a person's head screwed on tight and they're working on themselves, I'm not saying you blow it off. We're not saying that. You say, wow, what a responsibility. Now, can it get a person down sometimes? Probably. But if they're working on themselves, maybe they don't need therapy in this case. Maybe they will, right? Again, it's not necessarily something you can will. All the, going through Shar Bitachon, the gate of emunah, and duties of the heart, and you go through it on a daily basis, go through it once, twice, 3 times, 5 times, till it actually becomes part of you. Then everything around you doesn't bother you. Right? Is that a guarantee a person won't need therapy? No. It's not a guarantee. But changing the way we think and what we understand and looking at it from a Torah perspective, that, I'm telling you right now, is worth $1.5 million I don't have. It's worth millions. And I would say, God, why didn't I learn this before? When I was growing up, because I didn't. So now you know. But it would have taken away a lot of heartache, a lot of aggravation. Okay, so you have to go through that. Maybe this is what your soul has to go through. That's true. Definitely true. But now someone who goes through that and stumbles and at it hard and this and that and ups and downs. So it could be for this whole reason, so I can give it over now. Not the only reason. But it gives a whole perspective. A whole perspective. Now, could it be? A lot of things we don't understand, especially when we're younger. I would say even when we're older, if you don't have a proper perspective. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why the other thing happened? And people go nuts because they don't see any rhyme or reason. But why don't they see it? What's the reason? Because they don't see it. They've never been taught. Or someone told me once that, they had to rethink so many different things because the parents did not educate. Plenty of parents out there, God forbid, don't know how to educate properly. And we're our own worst enemy. Because the kids get all their inspiration from from parents. They spend a lot of time in school, but it comes from the home. Majority comes from the home. Even though a kid could have a bad friend and that could put them on a downward spiral. But where do they get the majority of what they see, what they do? From their house. From the parents. The parents are either role models or, God forbid, a lot worse. A lot worse. Right? So someone told me I had to rethink, I had to reevaluate all these things. See, this person didn't have Torah mitzvahs. So, did they read any self-help books on the subject? I don't know. I would imagine not that way. Maybe they talked to other people. I don't know. They certainly didn't go to therapy. Right? Hash it out. But they knew obviously something was wrong. Something didn't make sense. Or a lot of things didn't make sense. And that's not normal. True. Right? 100%. But see, if a person understands what Torah should be, again, we're not saying we're perfect in how we execute what the Torah says. But nonetheless, if we understand, we've read Jewish philosophy. We've read Mussar, what we're supposed to do. We see people don't do it. Because some people get turned off because they see Orthodox Jews do not uphold what they're supposed to do. And they see contradictions. Do as I say, not as I do. Well, how's that help? Father tells his kid, you got to sit and learn whatever, and I can sit back and watch TV and read my newspaper. What kind of message you're giving your kid? Negative message. So a lot of things, God forbid, we may do wrong. But see, the question is, what have we been taught? So everything we've been taught, more or less, in the secular world, has been wrong. I'm not going to say everything. There are some good values in the secular world. Not many, but some. So therefore, we got to think totally differently. Our brain now has to go through other things and reevaluate based on new knowledge. Now, in theory, I would say, if a person has this new knowledge, isn't that a game changer? Come on, nod your head. It's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer over here. Does that mean, though, a person's heart's not broken? Let's say, and I get this question a lot, parents do terrible things to their kids. You got parents, non-Jewish parents, anti-Semites, hate Judaism, make fun of what they do. You can have Jewish parents, same thing. Fine, I'll give my kid a Jewish education, barely. I don't want to be an Orthodox Jew. I know a story recently, very recent, someone's child came here to Israel. Person's got a lot of money, very wealthy. The kid came, to visit. They have an aunt and uncle that live here. They went on a certain trip. They got inspired. God forbid. They got inspired. And now they're learning with different rabbis, and they're on the course to becoming an Orthodox Jew. Like, unbelievable from where this person came from. The mother's going absolutely out of her mind in a negative way. They're making fun of him. What are you doing? Come on, you want to keep a little bit? Okay, this is too much. Kid's going to have a hard time. He's got a support system, okay. This mother, probably father also, going to give him a real hard time. Real hard time. But he's determined. Now, Jews can be, we can be our own worst enemy. Yeah, we'll give you a Jewish education, but, you're not going to eat my house now. You're not going to go out to dinner. All of a sudden, you're like, super Jew. You think you're better than us? You don't think that's going to be said? It'll be said, I'm sure. Probably not in the nicest of ways. Non-Jews, I don't think they're any different over here. You got self-hating Jews and certainly self-hating non-Jews. Now, knowing what we know now, and these people know nothing, and they have this hatred, and all that, it's hard to deal with. I agree 100%. It's hard to deal with. It's annoying to deal with, especially, we're talking parents or siblings. Friends, okay, we can deal without friends. We have to. Parents, you can't necessarily not deal with parents ever. I mean, you could, if it gets to that point. Right? But, you have some level of contact, maybe. That's a very hard thing. But I would say 90%, maybe it's too high. 90% of whatever they're going to say, as painful as it may be, Coffman's advice, as it always is that whatever they say, you look at them like they should be in a white jacket, strung up, being in an insane asylum. Because that's what they are. They don't know anything. They spew the same things other anti-Semites say, or whatever. It's painful. I'm not going to say nothing. Had my share of comments people made. It was painful. These people are stupid. That's what they are. They're uneducated. They don't care. They'll make fun, this and that, hoping they're going to have a negative effect on you and you'll come back. I think you're in some sort of cult, all these things. But deep down, look at the bigger picture. Look at where you're going, what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, what your goals are, what your knowledge is. These people know nothing. They're mentally challenged. Right? They're mentally challenged. They're insane. If they're insane, then, why am I going to take what they say seriously? Because they're still parents, they're family, and it hurts. Okay? It's painful. But at the end of the day, the more we learn, the stronger we get. And the stronger we get, when someone makes a comment and it's, let's say, a below the belt comment, and it's a nasty comment, so you can give a snappy answer if you want. First time a person hears it, it's like hits them in the head. Second time, it hits them in the head. Third time, fourth time, fifth time, it gets less. Why does it get less? I'm not saying it's 100% not painful, but why does it get less? Why does it get less? Because a person is going to flex these muscles, right? Right? A person is going to flex these muscles. A person is going to flex these muscles, and he's going to realize these people are nuts, 100%. So the more nutty they are, right? The more nutty they are, the worse. That's it. So why am I going to take them seriously? We know they're wrong. We know they're out to lunch. So little by little, it's not going to have that effect. Not going to have that effect because what they say doesn't matter. They got the IQ of a 5-year-old when it comes to Torah. Are you going to take a 5-year-old? You going to take what they say that seriously? Okay, depends what they say. When it comes to Torah knowledge, they don't know anything. They're in kindergarten. Not even. They're in preschool. I'm going to sit there and waste my time and energy on something they said? No, I'm going to give them a snappy answer. That'll be the end of the conversation. Or I'm not even going to answer. Not even going to answer. So something years ago would have stung. Would have just got me so irritated, this and that. Today, 98% gone. Gone. What am I going to get upset about? What am I going to, even if I answer them and I say something, is it going to change them? No. It's going to make any difference? No. What's the difference? Can't worry about what they're going to say. Not at all. Could care less what they're going to say. It's even worse if it's in your head. Right? Mind games. And some people get paralyzed by that. Because of all the things that were said over the years. So we're giving over something there that's worth, you can't put a price tag. You can't put a price tag. For myself, I would have wished I would have known this many, many years ago. Would have solved a lot, would have solved a lot of things. As I mentioned before, when I went to yeshiva and first couple of weeks I was there, it was like all of a sudden all the puzzle pieces fit together. And the more I learned, I'm like, really? That's what it means? This is what it is? This is why people do this and do that and do the other thing? That made perfect sense. I think, great. So, I'm 20 years old. I'm like, I should have known this years ago. Years ago. But okay, it doesn't always work out that way. So now, since we see the bigger picture, and we understand the bigger picture, doesn't mean things are not necessarily painful. Right? But all the belief in Torah and mitzvahs doesn't necessarily get the person over the hump. A person still may need therapy. It depends what it is. Right? It could be some forms of depression that are not chemical, let's say. Probably most cases are, but let's say it wouldn't be. How can I fix that in some ways? Even without therapy, in theory, Torah, perspective. Right? I'm not saying if a person needs it, they shouldn't go to therapy. Not saying that. Right? Don't want to be misquoted. But people should understand. I change my mentality. I change the way I think, the way the Torah wants me to, and I'm working on that in a normal way. Without getting carried away, no OCD, all these things, changes the way we think. When we change the way we think, imagine, person's gonna say, well, I don't see how much I'm really growing that much, and I have all these hurdles. Think about your knowledge right now. Wherever a person's holding in the world, think about their knowledge right now and what they've done, what they've accomplished. Doesn't matter what they failed, what they accomplished. And now think of where they were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. World of difference. Does that mean they're holding where they want to? No. We still have a lot of work to do, plenty of work to do. But what do we see in spiritual growth? We see that things, would have ticked us off a long time ago. Today, you go, bink, you knock it off because you have a different perspective. Right? We could say sticks and stones. But what people say, I would agree, what people say can be harmful. Extremely harmful. Question is how we take it. That could destroy a person's self-esteem, and that could turn them down to a downward spiral. True? 100%. We never label people. Person labels someone, say, oh, you're this type of person. They're going to say, yeah, you're right. And they act that way. They act it out. Because people say that's who you are. People can do terrible things. They don't even know. They don't even know. I caught someone, I'll just give an example. I see a lot of questions here. I caught someone in an outright lie over the phone. Someone said, I'm not going to say what they said, but someone said, pretty nasty thing, a big put down. So I said, did you really just say X, Y, Z? They go, I didn't say that. They denied it. Right? Would have been worse that they were right in front of my face and they lied. Here, they lied outright. At least I know my hearing wasn't bad. At least that I know. Right? I wasn't senile. I'm still not senile. At least not that I know of. But I caught someone in an outright lie and they denied it. Now, what they said stung. It stung. Caught them in a lie. I was like, you gotta be kidding. You're not gonna own up to what you just said. They denied it. They said it, we never said it. Again, I didn't take the conversation. I should have. But I didn't. I didn't record it. My word against theirs, but my ears heard it. My ears definitely heard it. After you see certain things over time, and you realize I'm not the cause of this, and you realize people are making fun because they feel uncomfortable. Like someone told me when I was first married, said, I feel uncomfortable the way you dress. I'm like, what's the matter with the way I dress? White shirt, black pants, with or without pinstripes, gray suit, dark blue suit. I said, the only difference is I wear a yarmulke on my head, I wear a black hat, and a suit. We don't dress that much differently. What were they saying? They were saying, I'm also Jewish, but you're a fanatic. That's what they're saying. And you make me feel bad. Because you dress different, you're different. Why do you have to be so different? Why can't you be like everybody else? So I asked this person, prominent doctor in their community, I said, let me ask you, if I would have shaved my head, not that I have much hair anyway, I shaved my head as a mohawk. I have earrings coming out of every part of my body. And I'd smoke pot, I'd sit on your roof day in and day out, playing my guitar, which I don't know how to play. Would that bother you? Now, you would think someone's going to have a straight answer. Yes, no. This guy's thinking about it. I said, I don't understand. I want to have, good morals for my kids, this, that. And I said, here's, a delinquent we'll call them, got his head shaved. I mean, delinquent's probably not a good word. Whatever the word is, got his head shaved, a little bit out there, earrings all over the place, smoking pot on a daily basis, playing the guitar, doing nothing in life. That is value. That's more comfortable than me dressing up like a fanatic, giving good values. You got to think about that. Today, it wouldn't even be an afterthought. Today, whatever floats your boat. You want to go in this bathroom? Fine. You want to go in that bathroom? Depends who you identify with. That is insanity. That's insanity. So, but a person hears these things and they get put down and they have no supports, that can make you feel like a piece of dirt. Right? So I was telling, actually, I was at a bar mitzvah last night. My neighbors, I was talking to different people, different things. And they asked me different things about, converts, what they go through and whatever, all kinds of different things. So I said, I said on myself, I said, I wouldn't be half the person I am if I didn't have such a big ego or a big ego, whatever you want to call it. So he said, see, he admitted. He admitted he's got a big ego, right? But it's not a question of ego here, right? It's a question of, feeling, you're doing the right thing and giving yourself a pat in the back for going in the right way. Now, again, that's not ego, right? But you're not getting support from family. You're certainly not getting them from friends, right? So you're going to get support from other places, from other people in your community, whatever it is, right? Self-esteem, that's the word I was thinking of. So I lucked out, at least I had that. Growing up, scholastically, I was halfway decent until I got to geometry. Then I couldn't see things in more than one dimension. That was a problem, right? And, playing sports, I was pretty good, different things, even though I was vertically challenged, but okay. So I had outlets that, gave self-esteem. But see, that's only a fake thing. Why is it a fake thing? Everybody needs self-esteem. Probably one of the biggest diseases in this generation is self-esteem. A lot of others, but that's one of them. People do have very low self-esteem. So one great rabbi I once heard told me, you got to build people up, tell them how great they are, what the potential could be. He said, so I said, if we do that, they're going to have a big ego. They're going to be conceited. He goes, don't worry, I can deal with that also. He goes, that's not the problem. He said, I dealt with, hundreds, thousands of, of boys, students, whatever. He said, it's self-esteem. Self-esteem is a big issue. So if you have no self-esteem and you get squashed, you totally get squashed, it's hard. If you have no support. So what, again, one of the best pieces of advice that was given to me is that, and again, this stings. I'm not going to tell you it didn't sting. It stung, but it's very true. And that is, you will never, because the person knows my family, he said, you'll never, ever get support from family. It'll never happen, and don't go for it. Don't look in that direction because it's never going to happen. Now, that's kind of a harsh reality because who doesn't want to share this with their family? Forget about saving them in the afterlife and all. That's also true. But you want to be able to share it, have a connection, whatever, and you can't. Right? Imagine, everyone, most people in your family are totally secular. What's the only thing you can't talk about? God, religion. Talk about anything else. Genders, politics, weather. You can speak about global warming. You can speak about, speak about all kinds of things. Religion, there's a limit. Can't speak about that. But that's all you live for. So what are you going to speak about? Are you going to speak to them? And what they speak about, that's the only thing you can do. If they ask you something, okay. But to expect they're going to come along for the ride, never. Shouldn't expect it. If it happens, it's a bonus. It's a huge bonus. but it can get really nasty, totally nasty, right? I don't want to get off topic because we've spoken about this, a lot. Point is, when it comes, in general, when it comes to, let's say, mental illness, depending on what it is, some of it can be helped through Torah. May need therapy. Person may need, certainly may need medication. Torah is not going to solve everything, right? I want to make that clear. But outlook can change the way a person thinks, and it can take down a number of things. A chemical imbalance, it won't do. That it won't do. That you need medication, right, to work that out. But mentality, how I deal with certain things, that's worth everything. And again, sometimes, at the beginning or however long a person's been on this journey, sometimes it's just you get hammered and you get hammered and you get hammered. It's painful. They don't want to listen. They don't care. They're not interested in information. Can it make someone depressed? Can it make someone go off the deep end because they have no support? Yeah. I know somebody, I don't know all the details. I mentioned the story before. They became religious and their family destroyed them because they didn't live in a religious community. They still had, quite a bit of contact with family. Doesn't seem like they had a rabbi in there, that they could go to ask questions. And they felt that God put them in a situation they couldn't handle. So what happened? They cracked because they needed that support. Now, most people know they're not going to get that support. They're going to get that support virtually or from communities when they go there. That's where the support's going to come from. If it comes in other ways, great, but probably not. So some things, perspective can change so many different things. Does it take a person totally out from it? No, it doesn't. But it can bring it down. Even if a person, let's say, would have a conversation with family, with parents, and the parents are hammering them, and they say terrible things, and this and that. What can that do? No matter how old the person is in general, right? They're making fun of them. They yell and scream at them. Whatever, all kinds of things. Say all kinds of terrible things. Person's younger, it stinks. It hurts. But when you understand the bigger picture, it's still, okay? It can still sting, it can still hurt. But it's not going to be the same it was what it was. Why not? Because I understand the bigger picture. So, again, it's going to depend on the mental illness and how far the mental illness goes, so to speak. Plenty of people, that I know a few people actually with bipolar, on medication, been in therapy for a very long time. Function as, normal Orthodox Jews, living in an Orthodox community. So not impossible, right? For the people with schizophrenia, it's under control. Medicine-wise, it's under control. They can function. They 100% they can function. If they're off medication, different issue. They have episodes and other things, right? But I'm saying, Torah is not going to solve all the problems, right? And if a person was unstable before, this is much harder. Much harder. Why? You got to integrate into a community. You got family issues. You got friend issues. And you're sort of left by yourself. So if someone was having issues before, this is just going to exasperate it more. Someone will say, why would you take on these other things? Making life so much harder for yourself. Can't even tell you how many times I've heard that. Someone, I had a relative one recently tell me, why would people choose this? Because they're looking for meaning. They're looking for truth. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Some people find it there, some people find it other places. Right? It's not going to solve all the problems. It'll probably add a lot of problems. Make life uncomfortable in other ways. But with a proper outlook and proper guidance, is that going to stop someone from going to therapy? No, not necessarily. Depends what it is. But with proper outlook, and I've had this, I'm a little bit of a hard nut to crack. You can ask my wife about that, right? No question. But I've had it hammered into my head hammered into my head. And sometimes it was very hard to take, very hard to take. But they were right. 100% they were right. And again, today, if someone will say something, it'll be a family member, maybe, someone else, and it's a comment below the belt, even if they don't think so, I'm not going to answer. We'll have to waste the time to answer anyway. But, it's not going to have the same effect it did. Never. A totally different world today. But it's hard because, we get hammered all the time. So, or not all the time, but sometimes. And it can be painful because we have no outlets. We have nobody that we can go to, that think the way we're stuck in a certain way. Right? But remember one thing, that, family, friends, they may say all kinds of things. They may never come along. You may never, ever, ever get anything from them in support. Nothing. Nothing. So there's an old saying, I don't like it, but there's an old saying that goes like this: expect the worst, and whatever you get is good as a bonus. Don't expect anything, and whatever you get is a bonus. What? That's just a mechanism to save a person from getting hurt. Right? In other words, I'm not going to get anything over here, but if I do, and it's positive, okay, that's a bonus. But should I expect it? Never. Never. So a lot of these things, I think a lot with a proper perspective, can certainly help. It's not going to solve. And if there's trauma, for sure not. Right? But that would mean if a person's going to go to a therapist, you got to go to someone who thinks like you do. You go to someone who doesn't think like you do, they'll kill you worse. They'll say, come on. You got OCD over here. You're worried about mitzvahs. You're worried about this. What God's going to think. Forget about these things. That's what's causing the problems. And it's just the opposite. Right? So you'd have to go to someone, obviously, who's credible, thinks the way we do, because otherwise, you can have worse problems. Yeah, let me see. There are a lot of questions here. Someone asking, no, I'd make a hybrid plant. No. There's a problem. There's a problem. It's a question the Talmud asks, doesn't answer. In other words, Talmud says the Jew's not allowed to. Right? So the question by an non-Jew, right? Does this apply? Is this one of the, is this one of the no-hide laws? Right? So we hold that it is, and that a non-Jew also should not graft plants, graft animals, so to speak. I shouldn't say graft, whatever, put different animals together, etc. Now, even if they would, let's say a Jew or a non-Jew would take a peach and a plum, put them together, make a nectarine. Right? So that does not become forbidden to eat. Forbidden to do, but you're allowed to get benefit from it. Certain things you're allowed to get benefit from. Certain things you're not allowed to get benefit from. That you're allowed to get benefit from. Right? So why would it be forbidden for non-Jews? Why would it be forbidden for no-hides over here to make a hybrid? Because you're not allowed to play with creation. Playing with creation is forbidden. That you're not allowed to do. Right? And that would be universal. That would be universal. So we hold that is forbidden. Right? That is forbidden to play with creation, Jew or non-Jew. Someone asks, all right, saying prayers. Person says Shemona Esrei, silent meditation, whatever you want to call it, and you're praying for somebody. Somebody to repent, someone to get healed, something like that. The person has, let's say, a long list. Can we do that for Tehillim also? Yeah. Right? When I say Tehillim, I say Psalms, whatever, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, depending how much time. So I have certain things in mind when I say it. One's going to be for people to get better, physically, spiritually, for any number of things. But yeah, you can have it in mind when you say the Shemona Esrei, when you say the silent meditation, as well as saying some, not a problem. right? You can list a whole bunch of names when you say Psalms. You can give a whole list, when you're praying, when you get to the paragraph in the Shemona Esrei about repentance, you can have all kinds of people, in mind in order that they should repent. Or let's say you get to the paragraph of healing. You can have people in mind who need to be healed. Or when it comes to livelihood, that people should have livelihood. You should have livelihood, your friend should have livelihood, etc. You should have in mind. At the end, let's say you forgot a lot of these things. Before you take 3 steps back, you can do it. You can have all that in mind in the last paragraph. So you can have all this in mind at the same time when you're saying Psalms. When you're saying Tehillim, you can have it all in mind at once. You don't have to stop and have in mind and go back. And you can have generally in mind for all these things. You say at the beginning, that's what you have in mind for, and then, or just think it in your mind. You don't necessarily have to say it out loud. And then you can say, as many Tehillim as you want, as many Psalms as you want, and you don't have to stop and keep having in mind. You have a general thing in mind, and that's it. Someone asks, it's a bad thing if you don't have any connection with your parents because they're giving you a hard time. It's not a bad thing, right? Again, family and, parents, siblings, friends can go by the wayside if they're giving you a hard time, right? For some people, relationship with parents is toxic. So who says you have to have a connection to them? You can have, a much less connection to them, but you can't belittle them. You can't make fun of them, so to speak. You still have to have, a certain level of respect, but you don't have to honor them, right? If they're evil, you don't have to honor them. You have to stand up for them if they walk in a room, something like that. There's difference of opinion. Regardless, you don't have to do that. You definitely don't have to do that. And for a lot of people, it would make sense not to have so much to do with them because they're toxic. They're giving you a hard time, right? Especially during conversion. I get it, right? Does that mean you cut off ties altogether? Depends. Depends how bad it is. For some people, I would say, yeah. Speak to them once a year. If that, you move on, unfortunately. Other people, I don't know if it has to be that drastic. Right? Depends on the situation. But I can understand it can be pretty bad. It can be pretty bad. I know somebody that, had such a rough experience, didn't speak to their parents for a year. They couldn't deal with it. It was just too painful. So, they speak to them now, every so often, but, different ways of dealing with it. They just cracked in different ways from different things. So, situations like that, if they're especially bad, having less connection is a good thing, not a bad thing. And a person doesn't have to feel guilty because if you're doing the right thing and they're anti-Semites and they're giving you a hard time, it's nothing you have to feel guilty about. The only question is, you got to be careful what you say to them. You can't just disparage them. You can't tell them off. You got to be careful. Honoring parents is one of the hardest things to do. Right? So in your case, you might not have an obligation to honor them. Okay. But there's a respect issue. It's definitely a respect issue. You can't embarrass them in public. You can't, there's certain things you got to be careful of. There are other things you don't have to worry about. Definitely not. I wouldn't say that, you'd have to feel guilty about it. They made a decision. That's who they are. So you're going in the right direction. Person's going in the right direction. And they're going to give you a hard time. So, okay. You got to draw the line. Got to draw the line somewhere. I don't think it's, you don't have to feel guilty. You definitely don't have to feel guilty, about it. But as I said, that for somebody, what do we want? What does a child want from a parent? They want them to, pat them on the back, give them support. And what if they won't? And what if they're not interested? And just the opposite. Okay. It's a painful thing. I'm not going to say not. It's a painful thing. And then a person may never get that support they need from the people they need it from the most. Okay. right? I'm not blowing that off. That's the real thing. That's a hard thing, right? But at the same time, what's the alternative? I'm going to sit there and argue with them. I have to listen to their anti-Semitic, diatribes and what they say and this and that. No. Yeah, I don't have to feel guilty. Why do I have to feel guilty about that? But so people they'll make you feel guilty, right? Jews are very good at that. They'll make you feel guilty. Say, well, we haven't changed. You've changed, and you have to suck it up, and you have to this, and you're right. I've changed. So I want you to make the comment. I said, yeah, I'm reconnecting to a chain that goes back 3,000 years. Our chain got broken. We'll call it America. Got broken. They're right. They didn't even get the parable. It's like went over their head. So that was it. Yeah, you're gonna make me feel guilty? I don't feel guilty over here. There are things out of my control. There are things I can't do. There are things I'll never say. You don't like it? What did my Rabbi say? Come on. Easton, what would they say? Go eat kugel. That's what he would say. You don't like it? Go eat kugel. Now you gotta be nice. You gotta be a little bit nice. You can't tell your parents, go eat kugel. Not so nice. Even if you're angry. You got to be careful. These are not easy things. These are definitely not easy things. Right? I have to sit there and take this garbage. What do I have to take it for? Just change the subject. Okay, I heard enough. And eventually just go in your own direction to finish. You definitely do not have to feel guilty. Just the opposite. You should be empowered. They don't know anything. This is what they say, and you move on. It's not an easy thing to do. Because we want support from family. We want support. We want to show them. We're trying to educate them a little bit. They don't want. Okay, so what do you do? What are you supposed to do? Can't change City Hall, right? You can't fight. You can't run an up. You can't run up or down escalator. I always say about myself, and it's ironic. People are in their own different situations. Here we got people all over the world, right? All over. Everyone's gonna watch this. Some people get more inspired, less inspired. So it's great. I can help all these people, inspire all these people, except people in my own family. So how does it work? I don't know. Right? The Gemara says the person cannot help him get himself out of his own jail. So you can have all the gifts, all the answers, all this, and then people don't want to listen. So what are you going to do? So if I can help others, I'll help others. Right? Can't help your own family. What are you going to do? They're not interested. They make fun. They say this. So that's it. You move on. You have to move on. It's a hard thing to do, but you have to do it because there's no other recourse. If I wanted to, I wouldn't recommend this. I could bang my head against the wall till it bleeds. That's bad. That's negative. That's never going to do anything. What do I need it for? I need this aggravation like I need another hole in my head. I got enough on my plate. I have to listen to this, to listen to what people think. I always say if I'm at the top of my game and everything's going good, I have plenty of people to talk to who put me in my place. What do I need it for? You don't need it. It's more painful when it's parents. Siblings. Well, siblings a little bit easier. You had a good connection. You didn't have a good connection. Okay, parents are parents. Right? But they can be horrible people also. They can be cruel people. They can say terrible things. I know a number of people in this situation. Someone, is an ex-Muslim. Parents, rabid anti-Semites. Every other thing, choose this, choose that, choose the other thing. Rabid anti-Semites. I say the same thing. Get out of Dodge. You got to, if you can get out, get out. You have less contact, you have very little contact. That's it. You can't, you're not going to be normal sitting around listening to that all the time. You can't defend yourself. They're not going to listen. So, you got to cut your losses. It's parents. You're right. It's painful. No, I don't have an easy answer. It's painful. I had a friend of mine, Jewish, became religious. Parents cut him off financially. Not only that, his father died, never met his wife and his kids. That's how open-minded they were. He spoke to them once every week, 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, and basically had no connection to them. That's what he had to do. He wasn't given a choice. He's a big rabbinic scholar today. Parent, mother maybe still thinks he's a fruitcake, whatever, but okay. Doesn't speak to her that often, and that's what he does. Because you have no choice. Then nothing in common. That's it. What are you gonna do? That doesn't mean it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but we have this romanticized idea. Blood is thicker than water. If you hear that expression, rubbish, the English would say. So what if it's thicker than water? Family could be an albatross. Brothers, sisters, parents, aunts, uncles, they can be an albatross. I need to listen to what they think. I think you're having too many kids. I said, great, which one should we kill? I said this to somebody once. Okay, which one should we give away? Here, give me a shotgun. Which one we shoot? Oh, no, I didn't mean that. See, don't use my answers. Learn from my mistakes. They're not a good thing to say. But it's annoying. Someone says, in the marriage document, and someone says this also, it says in the fine print you can only have 3 kids. I go, really? Let me see. Where does it say that? I was very nice about that. I was like, oh, really? I didn't know it said that. It's on my document. It doesn't say that. That's obnoxious. It's obnoxious to say. It's okay. You got 3 great kids here. 4 great kids here. So, okay, take a knife and kill one of them. That's what you want to do? No, it's not what I meant. I know what they meant. It's obnoxious. All right? See, I had an attitude even before I became religious. It just, it got a little more, what's the word? I control a lot more what I say. Even though people never believe it. People may never believe that, but it's true. Right? I'm in a lot more control. But, when I was younger, it got me into trouble. Because, it wasn't like I was 6'4" and I'm plenty of muscles. I got a big mouth sometimes. Okay, I'll admit it. But, you hear something like that, and this is what you're living for. You want to take your Louisville Slugger and hit someone upside the head. Say, come on, you got an anger issue. It's not about anger. It's not about anger. It's you're being put down. You're being stomped on, made fun of. Ooh, why do I deserve that? Well, maybe I do deserve it. But if my detractors say you have it coming, okay. But why do people deserve that? Because they want to lead a moral life. Why do people have to make these stupid comments? Because they feel uncomfortable. You make them feel uncomfortable because you're telling them, by the way you live your life, what they're doing is wrong. That's why. And they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Even if you don't say anything. They don't want to hear it. So I have to be the butt of all these jokes. These stupid jokes. Someone once said, I mentioned this before, if I breathe on your food, does it mean it's not kosher? Wait, what do you answer to that? I said, no, it's kosher. It just says bad breath on it. Wait, what? I need to sit there and listen to this? For what? Like I said, I need another hole in my head. What do I need it for? What does anybody need it for? No, blood is thicker than water. No, it's not. It's not. You throw the baby out with the bathwater. Get rid of it. Person has cancer, God forbid. What do? You burn it. You burn it out if you have to. Go through chemotherapy. What do you need this for? And I've had people say, oh, get this person a call, give that person a call. I said, yeah, let them call me. I have to be the good Samaritan. I have to do everything. No one can do anything. But nothing to say to these people. That's the problem. It's the problem also. Be cordial, be nice, be this, be that. Okay. Right. But, you can say, well, you're oversensitive. How many people like to be made fun of for things that they hold very dear to them? So good. If it's a good joke, very good. But a lot of these things are bad. They make you feel bad. So I learned how to answer snappy questions. Came in handy sometimes. Someone said something, bam, just knocked them out. Said it in a nice way. Not in a loud tone, not yelling and screaming. Just knocked them out. One blow. 2 seconds. Boom. Finished. Oh, I didn't know that. I know you're going to be so tough. A relative made an obnoxious comment. My wife and I answered him 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Put this person in their place. In a nice way. That was it. The person never really spoke to us again after that. Wow, you guys are tough. I'm like, come on. You make such an underhanded comment? You think I'm not going to say anything? That's it. Put them in a place. Finished. It's a good way to make enemies also, but you do not need to be abused like that. I don't. I know people might think it's funny. to do that. But I said, I have to sit there and take it. So this person, have I had that much contact with in the last 30 years? Nope. Am I losing anything? Nope. You can say, wow, you got such a big ego. No, person got nothing to give me. Nothing. Not interested in what I have to say, so I have no interest in what he has to say. That's it. It's unfortunate, but listen, if you're obnoxious enough, I need that. What do I need it for? I need, again, I got enough holes in my head. I don't need another one. So do you have to feel bad? Because your parents are anti-Semites? No, not at all. Meaning that, you want to have less contact? Absolutely. You don't have to feel bad about that. But I think it's sad, but you don't have to feel bad about it. What books would I recommend people to read? Depends what they want, right? So I'm going to point out Path to the Just is good, right? If you're learning Musar, what's Ways of the Righteous? Ways of the Righteous, another good book. Gates of Repentance. I mean, these are good, books to keep a person, on an even keel, so to speak, what they're doing in the world. Right? Anyone interested in any good books, go to artscroll.com. Artscroll.com has, plenty of good books, Jewish philosophy, Jewish law, etc. I mean, I got a lot of them myself. So, it depends what a person is looking for. Person says, I'm driving, you can say Tehillim, yeah. Someone said when they get depressed in the morning prayers. Can I say in the morning prayers, all the Tehillim I recite today? Yeah, again, these things should be separate. When you say, when you pray in the morning, whatever the prayers are, that's it. When you say Tehillim, the two separate things, right? But when you say Shemona Esrei, you can have in mind for a lot of people. That's true. In other parts, in other parts of prayer in the morning, in the afternoon, it doesn't really matter. By the Shemona Esrei, silent meditation, whatever you want to call it, you can have in mind for other people. Other people, if they're sick or whatever. Saying Tehillim is a different thing. They don't mix. You say Tehillim, you have in mind, that's a separate thing. You pray, you have people in mind, okay, but the two are separate. Someone asked, can I make a playlist of all Parsha videos into, yeah, why not? Why not? Anything I put up there, I put on YouTube is for anyone to use. Right? That's not a problem. Maybe you splice some of my videos, all my great lines, put them all in one video and play it on Purim. Have a good time. Candles have to be made by Jews. No. Candles don't have to be made by Jews, but they should not be used for idolatry. Can't be used for idolatry. Right? If they have not used for idolatry, non-Jew can make it. It's not a problem. Definitely not a problem. If it's used for idolatry, that would be an issue to use. Right? Definitely an issue to be used. But if not, then it shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Any other questions? All right. I'm going to stop here. Thursday, I have a wedding to go to, so I'm not going to be around. So there won't be a Q&A on Thursday, but I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. I'll put up a post about it also. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Rabbi Chaim Coffman or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or you can send me an email, rabbichaimcoffman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wish everyone a good